Buenas tardes. Good afternoon. My name is Alma Couverthie. I'm the National Organizing Director for the League of Women Voters of the United States. And I have to say, I am so honored to be here today with so many powerful leaders, powerful women, standing strong against racism here at our nation's capital. And I would say that this is the perfect place to talk about why we can't wait, why we need equality and justice now. The people who call Washington, D.C. home deserve full representation and self-government simply to be equal to everyone else in the states. As a majority-minority city, the 700,000 residents, which, by the way, it's more than the populations of Alaska, North Dakota, and South Dakota, pay more federal taxes, that 22 states pay more per capita than any other states, serve on juries, fight for the United States in the military, and raise American families, yet they don't have U.S. senators or representation in Congress in the most democratic country in the world. Does that make sense to you? No. The people of D.C. deserve the same rights as every other American. It is discriminatory to subject the people of D.C. to the whims of the United States Congress and the President. Statehood for D.C. is the only permanent solution to end this centuries-old injustice. And if I have not made myself absolutely clear by now, this fight for statehood is a fight for racial justice. Washington, D.C., a majority of color jurisdiction, is the only capital of a democratic nation that denies its residents a vote in the federal legislature. That is embarrassing. And even though the overwhelming majority of D.C. voters support this statehood, Congress has for decades made racist accusations that somehow the people of D.C. are incapable of governing themselves and refuse to vote on statehood. Well, let me tell you, I am Puerto Rican. I was born and raised in the colony of Puerto Rico. I know what it feels to be told that you are less than, not capable of, that there is something inherently wrong with you. To hell with that. We need to stand strong, united, that we're here together. And this is how we turn things around. This needs to change. Here in D.C., this discriminatory status hurts D.C. residents in a number of ways. So one thing is that we have Planned Parenthood here. Well, D.C. can't use local money to provide low-income women with abortion care through Medicaid, and can't regulate and tax the sale of marijuana. And D.C. gun laws are subject to congressional temper tantrums and political games. When it comes to state receiving emergency funds, like the CARE Act to fight COVID-19, then conveniently, D.C. is a territory. And it's denied the funds that it needs to keep the residents' face. Everything has to be a damn fight. D.C. can't prevent the federal government from using its military force on these streets against its residents, as the former president did against peaceful protesters on the streets in D.C. calling for racial justice for George Floyd. And because D.C. doesn't have influence in Congress, it is not really a desirable home for corporations, despite being in the middle of the East Coast and being home to the U.S. Capitol. Because of this, D.C. loses out on countless dollars in corporate tax revenue that flow to the nearby states, to Virginia and to Maryland. So our democracy is stronger when everybody is represented equally. And democracy is definitely worth fighting for. Systematic racism and voter suppression unjustly target communities of color and silence their voices from participating in our elections. We must come together to fight against racial injustice and ensure that everyone is represented in our government and that our election system is free, fair, and accessible to all. The League of Women Voters will continue to fight for DC statehood, and we will continue to power democracy until our democracy works for everybody in America, and I mean everybody. Thank you so much.